And we're live with our roundtable for the evening. And boy, do we have an august body tonight. I think we're going out of our way to see how we can break Gary's Skype system. Karen, you want to do the introductions?
I would love to, Gary. And first off, I would like to say thank you very, very much, because the show would not go on without the producers. And Gary, you just add such a nice professional touch. It is really awesome to have you be part of the team. I am also just so grateful, so very, very grateful, because I was not sure what would happen here. I just knew that for my own personal sanity and that of my husband, I do need to step back for a bit. And so I let go, not anticipating anything other than just having to let go and see where it landed. And now that it's landed and going to remain in such capable hands, it's absolutely amazing. It's amazing, and I'm very honored and happy that we're starting to really get it. You know, people on the same page, and their dogs, regardless of whether or not...
Actually, I think that was Vinny.
It was.
It looks like we're all wanting to get into it here, so I'm just going to say thank you and introduce you to actually Matt Navarro, who is going to be picking up the stream here on UWS radio for a bit, and also Jules. And actually, Matt, let's hear from you first, then Jules, and then I'll keep kind of popping in, because this is the last time you'll have to put up with me for a while.
Well, thank you, Karen. Thank you for all you have done for the United We Strike, United We Win cause for all these years. As we talked about earlier this afternoon or this morning, you know, we started from very humble beginnings, and now we see how this has developed into something very wonderful. I've been listening all day, and I am still amazed, and I say this all the time, I'm still amazed at the caliber of guests and hosts we have. From Larry Pinkney's impassioned exposure of the Liberty event to Am Rosen's deep thoughts, or Lark's deep thoughts, we really have a great group of individuals here. So I know we're, like I said, at the tipping point in humanity's history. Either at this point in history, we choose as a race to say no to the tyranny, or we live under the tyranny. And it's programs like this that brings together these people of like minds and such great, wonderful spirits who are so enlightened, continue. So yeah, you're stepping back, and we appreciate all you've done. But, you know, I thank you. I thank you for all your work and your passion and your eloquence here to help us so that we can continue this work. Yeah, so I will be, until further notice, financially responsible for keeping the stream of United We Strike up. And then with the great production crew, I'd like to thank Detlef, Alan, and Gary for what they do, because without them, we wouldn't be on the air. And Rick Margetts, I cannot forget Rick Margetts. He is a yeoman in today's effort to get Bilderberg coverage. I can't express to you how humble I am to associate with all of you. And I look forward to working with Jules and her enterprise to bring forward UWS into the next level.
Awesome. And definitely we need to thank Detlef and to thank Rick very much, and Neil, feet on the ground with live Bilderberg coverage. It was just absolutely great. Jules, welcome. This is really your first marathon. You've been here for hours all day. We've been chatting behind the scenes. You're definitely a soul sister. Christina, thank you. This would not have happened. First, Jules, what do you think about what you've heard today?
Oh, I am just so completely impressed with your hosts and the content. And I could not believe, first thing this morning, I woke up to Bilderberg coverage, which was wonderful. Somebody out of the mainstream actually going there, doing it on your own with, no commercialization whatsoever. So many people with passion and great ideas. And just from speaking to you today, like you said, behind the scenes all day, I mean, you and I really have a lot of similar ideas. So I'm really excited about just this whole opportunity. And I mean, people have been telling me for the longest time, oh, you should meet Karen Tostado. You should meet Karen. And honestly, I didn't know anyone who knew you. And then Christina mentioned you the one day and I said, hey, people have been telling me I should meet her. And then this happened. So it just makes me really happy that such a wonderful thing will be able to continue. And I will be willing to help in any way that I can. I have slots if people would like slots, if you want to air on Saturdays or simulcast. So I think it'll be good for everybody.
It is wonderful how things work out in a timely fashion. And now to you, Christina, because you haven't been with us that long, but what a wonderful, long-lasting impact this has made, you being you and being able to introduce us here to Jules. Thank you.
I can't believe that we didn't think of that before. You know, we're all so busy. We have so much going on, but it makes so much sense that you two finally connected. And I'm really really happy that happened.
Well, so am I. And now, Jules, I know that there are some others here who want to have a program and need to meet you too. And one is
Karen,
the walking.
Karen, real quick, I got to ask Christina. I just got to ask her. Christina, yeah. The wife prepared ahi tuna for us last weekend, and I really, really enjoyed it. Now, what I want to know is my hair going to fall out and my teeth going to bleed?
If you got dosed, it will in like 3 weeks. Probably not, but I wouldn't eat it a whole lot. I mean, I've probably had sushi or fish 5 times in the last 2 years, where I used to eat it 2 or 3 times a week.
It's such a delicacy, and I
don't
get it very often. Really... But I wondered when it was on special at the butcher shop. I just wondered if maybe the reason it was on special was because it glowed in the dark.
Didn't we postulate that, Christina? There was a big ad in my local grocery store paper the one day, like right after they came out in California and said every tuna they tested was radioactive. And there was a massive tuna sale going on. And I don't know.
You know, a lot of people feed it to their cats too, and that's not good if you use it as pet food or your kids. Obviously, it's much more detrimental to children than it is to adults.
It's going to wind up with a tuna radiation.
We're all radioactive in more ways than one. And someone who really knows about that is Dynamite, who just blows up all the false beliefs that we have out there. Dinah Everett Snyder, meet Jules, because I know that you two are going to do some great programming here in the future, and possibly, hopefully, we can also simulcast on United We Strike as we add these other programs.
Hi, Jules. Nice to meet you. I've heard lots of fantastic things. And, yeah, I'd love to talk to you and get together with you and talk more. But in the spirit of thanking, I want to thank Vicky Barker, who was incredibly instrumental in introducing me to you, Karen, and, of course, to you, Karen. Thank you so much because you introduced me to Charlie McGrath. And it seems like everything is just snowballed from there. So my heartfelt thank you to you and all of you.
Great. You're being hit up by Matt here to guest on his show. So it's working the way that it's supposed to. Now,
exactly. This is what we need. We have the momentum. It's up to us to keep it going.
We have to. And Dinah, I was impressed with the amount of information you have about GMO foods and alternatives to that. So, yes, I am extending an invitation for you to be on my show at some time in the future.
Thank you. I'll take you up on it.
Great.
She's an encyclopedia, Matt. I have not mentioned one topic that she doesn't know extensively about. I'll just superficially see it. It'll stick with me. Dinah's got it down. But now, in the sense of time, I just want to get everybody kind of in here, and then we can take off. But Suzanne Porcel, thank you so very much for what you bring to the program. And I have to say, I agree with you. And actually, right after I heard that Angelina Jolie was having a double mastectomy, I wondered whether or not it was real or it was just part of a deal where she'd be out of the public eye. And seeing the pictures of her at the premiere with her husband, she looks exactly the same. She's raising her arms and waving. Who knows what really happened? But ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to mutilate yourselves. She is not a hero. She's unfortunately someone who is either manipulated or doesn't really know what she's talking about. But then again, she's married to Brad Pitt, who is the bloodline relative of George W. Bush.
And she's a CFR member, and
Yeah.
she is the United Nations ambassador for what is it, peace or some garbage
Women
like
and
that?
refugees. Yeah, women and refugees or some such.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. All I know is that they're pushing these genes. The genes are the answer to everything now, and it all has to do with patenting life.
It does. I think it's what is it? UNBS adores. I'm going to start calling them that.
Exactly.
I got your partner there in
It's about patenting all these genes, and so the Supreme Court is listening this summer and making a decision on the BRCA genes. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many aminos in the human body that are patented. We are walking around and we are patented. We don't belong to ourselves. And people always say to me, but so what's the big deal? It's not like they can take it out of our body or they can control it. But here's what happens when pharmaceutical companies and tech companies own patents to things in the human body, particularly things that manifest down the road, perhaps, as disease. As soon as a company owns a patent on an amino acid, or in this case, the BRCA genes, it stifles all research in all labs around the world. Because if there is a lab that wants to do any further study on a breast cancer gene or an ovarian gene, and they're related, by the way, they have to file all this paperwork and they have to pay in order to access those gene lines. And any research that's done, any findings that are found, don't belong to the finding company. They belong to the owners of the patent. So the infringement and the copyright protection for all of these disease genes and potential research and potential epiphanies don't belong to anyone who has any interest. So what does that do? It shuts everything down. So it's very inhibitive, and I honestly believe that there is nothing in the human body that should be patented. No seed should be patented. Patents were originally designed to be an intellectual recourse for people, but it's gotten out of control, absolutely out of control.
And they don't mention, like I was talking with Vinny, they don't mention the parabens that are in all of the products that we use that when they do the biopsies of the breast tumors, they find are 99% paraben. And there was a study that was recently done out of Albany, New York, where they randomly took 270 items off of store shelves, including fruits and vegetables that were not canned. They were just, in the produce section. And they found high levels of parabens in these products, no matter what it was, whether it was food or just bath products or something that you use on your skin. It's even in the Desitin baby cream that you put on your baby. It's in formula. It's in baby formula. This is why we're getting sick, but they don't want to talk about that. They want to talk about the genes and why something's wrong with you and you have mutations. And because people don't understand what a mutation is or what a gene is, they can say whatever they want, and then they just hit you up with a bunch of drugs to take care of it.
Well, and that's it. I mean, we have the Department of Health and Human Services saying that the vast majority of cancer today is genetic. Hello, genetic transfer takes centuries and centuries to become a part of our genetic code. None of this is genetics. It's all external manipulation of our germlines. But because of the extreme contamination of everything that we come into contact with, everything, the air, the soil, the water, everything we eat, our homes, toxic homes, because of all of this, there is no recovery possible for our genetic material. And yes, so I urge listeners to Google the word epigenetic, because that is what is happening to our global gene pool. We are being horizontally gene transferred and being imprinted along an epigenetic line which is interfering with our ability genetically to recover. Then they want to own all of our genes. I'm telling you, it's getting to the point where we don't own our water, we don't own our food, we don't own our children, we don't own our bodies. And ultimately what this is going to bring down the pike is a vast majority of males will be sterile and a vast majority of females will be sterile. And those women who have viable uteruses will be implanted with DNA from multiple male sources that have had, because the sperm is still not going to be viable. They're going to have to take DNA material, and they've done this in the lab with rats, where they take 2 and 3 and 4 male sperm, alter them, join them together, shake them around, add them to an ovum, and when they do that, they can show in the lab setting that the resulting fetus and the resulting infant rat bears no genetic material from the mother, from the ovum into which these sperm were injected. So this is what's down the pike for people.
Hey, Dinah.
They already have this
Dinah,
with the GM babies that they did.
Dinah, Suzanne, hold on a second here. There's still a massive round table full of people to introduce, and we're still there's not enough.
Yeah, so we have a great group of individuals here. So
yeah, I mean, that was like the radio version of a 9/11 hijacking.
No,
Actually, it was sounding like Alex Jones there for a while.
Oh no!
I think Vinny Eastwood would like to be introduced. Vinny Eastwood, welcome to the round table.
Well, thank you. I was just thinking about, Karen does like ridiculously large amounts of work about this. I remember like the last round table where, you know how Karen kind of like starts off the round table by giving accolades to all the crew and something like this, and use all these nice words like the wonderful or the fabulous and the ever effluent. And I said, Karen, ever effluent, that means unlimited poo.
And I'll stick to being flabulous, and you can go for it.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, I think she meant Vinny's full of it.
Yeah. Incidentally. And, Karen's like the den mother, the soul sister, like Aretha Franklin. And,
I need respect just a little bit.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There's a whole lot of respect going around this particular planet right now, isn't it? Honor, respect, values, dedication, volunteerism, all of these things that people like Karen embody seem to be very, very lacking in society these days. People are unwilling to give of themselves for the greater good of the many. Instead, they want to take from others for what they think is better for themselves. And this radio broadcast being organised by Karen Quinn Tostada embodies that very spirit, I think, quite well. I'm quite, proud to be at this point in my life with so many incredible, educated, talented and enlightened people who are not only very skilled in their fields, but also have very valuable spirits and souls. That's just beautiful.
Vinny, thank you. It's really a pleasure to have you. And the round table at the ends too, it's just so much fun to introduce us all. So now we're going to go to the man who has all the answers, Am Rosen. It's great to have you also aboard here today. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you, Karen. Hi, everybody. Just think that I'm just a wisdom junkie, whoring understanding for a fix of tenderness. A lot of good things being said here, and I do think I have some answers that would cut through all of this. But, listening to the talk about genes, and I go through a lot of this in my practice, people become hysterical. Right now, the short-sighted expedient compromises have created a reductio absurdum in science and business. We have tunnel vision problems where science is measurement. That's all it does. It measures whether on the quantum level or the universal, the galactic level, macro. It measures the substance, its viability, its rate of of usage. But as soon as somebody can prove that a particular material acts in a particular way and its energy components are such and such, well, they have a form of measurement, whether it's the scientist who wants the prestige of that and some power that might come from a discovery, or usually more so the business person that's employed them. The idea is, well, now that we've got a provable fact, let's reduce everything to in an agreement with that fact. Let's make the statistics, let's make the social application conform. Now, with genes, you have expression. There's a lot of markers in genes that they haven't identified yet. They don't come on. A lot of times, in terms of how it's set up, in terms of the evolution of the human nervous system, as the nervous system evolves at certain points, there's different emphasis on tissues, on organs and glands in the body. If they are not just incidentally coming on, but they're done with consciousness, it changes the focus. It activates the system, and gene expression becomes somewhat different. But if you say, well, we're looking for markers, anytime you have a disruption in the body, an identifiable form of symptoms that you call some sort of malady or sickness, you're always going to find certain biomarkers, certain gene expressions. That doesn't mean that they were caused by that. That means that because of these imbalances in the body, this misuse or misdirection, certain genes have become more prominent. Now, and as I said, you have this case of reducing everything. It's reductionism. And it's because the people using it have talents and skills in perpetuating their discipline, but they're not psychologically integrated. That's the only time they can use it. And what's missing is psychological integration, where you have access to the whole ball of wax and you're secure and comfortable enough to be able to use it and look. What you do to the mind affects the body. What you do to the body potentially affects the mind, and understanding the dynamic of that interrelationship. And we're talking about mind on unconscious, many levels of subconsciousness, semi-consciousness, self-consciousness, and transcendent consciousness. If you want to play with the mind-body and keep it healthy, you have to understand what's going on. It's not that difficult. It's just that people have never been taught to look in this direction. Just as, and much more to say, but I don't want to overly monopolize. But
okay, who's up for introduction next then?
Wait, well, we need to hear now from Lark in Texas, and then pretty soon we'll be able just to get back, kick this open, and see how much we can do without stepping all over each other. Lark in Texas.
I don't think I belong here. There's too many educated people. I can't tell you. I'm looking at this quote on my homepage from the Education for Sustainable Development Toolkit. And it says, generally more highly educated people who have higher incomes consume more resources than poorly educated people who tend to have lower incomes. In this case, more education increases the threat to sustainability. So I'm wondering if I'm in with a gang of terrorists here.
Actually, the government would tell you that we are, okay? And that we desire Hellfire missiles launched upon our homes via Predator drone.
Oh yeah. I don't want to be called educated, because the most educated people that I know really are terrorists. I call them, of course, communitarians. And I will say I'm enjoying some of the essays that activists post of late. I don't know who has sponsored that, but it's a brilliant idea. They're, of course, actually using that word. And I've been using it now for since 2004, and I've constantly sought to have other people at least say the word out loud, acknowledge its existence and why it's important in today's world. And so if anyone knows who's behind the activist post essays of late, kudos to you.
Well, I think that we're terrorists, Terrarists. We love the earth, and we're doing what we can to come together to protect it from the evil lying inbred traitorous eugenicists who have taken over. And on that note, we haven't heard yet from our producer of the moment, of the hour, of the minute, Gary.
Well, wait a minute now. You hear from me in between every guest host. Nobody's interested in what that Southern guy with an IQ the size of his shoes has to say. But no, I'm
you got big shoes, buddy.
Well, let's put it this way. I gave up my membership in Mensa because I just don't want to belong to a club that would have me. But to the audience, it has been a joy putting this together, and I should probably let folks know that we are going to take a brief intermission here to give our panel an opportunity to refresh their drinks, catch a breath, and we will be back right after the top of the hour. I'm going to play a couple of little ditties here. We're going to have a United We Strike sweeper, and then a piece from one of my favorite public domain instrumental groups, a guy by the name of Kevin MacLeod. Please do stand by.
Join UnitedWeStrike.com radio on the second Saturday of every month for our live international radio marathon. Don't buy, don't comply, ask why.
Are we?
And we're back from our brief intermission there. I hope that the august panel had an opportunity to refresh their adult beverages, rearrange the snacks on their desk, and we had just heard from our friend Lark in Texas, and he was rather cheated in the last segment, so I thought perhaps we could start out this segment with something from him.
Well, I really mean that. I'm quite gratified to be reading these essays over at the Activist Post. Suzanne, do you know anything about who's behind that?
No, I don't. I know some people I know Brandon Tuberville who writes for them, so I'll try and sniff it out for you.
I think it's wonderful. I mean, the word is actually being bandied about. I think when you say the word, it forces people to at least look it up. And it is an important word because we have a very strong penetration within the school system today with the Common Core. We have that same penetration manifested itself in the colleges and universities throughout academia, think tanks, foundations, NGOs. It's incredible. And
Hey,
Matt asked about the word. The word, of course, is communitarian or communitarianism.
Type that in the chat. I want to look that up.
I will, yeah. That's what my research has been about. A good place to get started, I think, is to just sign up for something like Google Alerts or what have you so that you can be apprised of when this word is employed within the mediascape, as it were. But also do a search in your search engine for living outside the dialectic. And read some of the voluminous research of Nikki Rapana, who's been working on this subject since 1999 and 2000. I think all of us come across it. We don't know that it has a word, and we're surprised when we learn that it has been given a word. But this is what we're talking about. When I say that there is that socialism equals gangsterism equals slavery, I'm actually speaking about things like arrested development. I'm speaking about human child, sex, drug, and organ trafficking. I'm actually talking about organized crime.
It is.
And that's really what it is. We're surrounded by organized crime, and we don't realize that it's crime because, of course, we were dumbed down in schools. We learned nothing about history and the law and even how to take care of our own bodies. And, well, this is how they want slaves. They don't want to educate slaves because
you have to be a part of the system. Elsewise, you are a rogue, and we don't like rogues. And rogues should be having Pakistani weddings that invite hellfire missiles.
That's it.
Well, but you come back to that thesis antithesis thing. Are you in the system or out of the system? I always think of the Borgs in the Star Trek thing where resistance is futile, you will be assimilated. My answer would be, okay, baby, assimilate this. Because you need some guidance, It's we're not outside of it, we're not inside of it. That's the the war that's going on. You want to recognize, call out the deficiencies, see the weaknesses in the structures, understand exactly why, of all the things available, people are stuck in these modes of behavior. And then you want to, from a more integrated space, start to create ways of interacting that are beyond that include both sides, but aren't adherent to either one.
Well, it's interesting you use that word Borg, because I have likened that word, that school of thought, called a dictatorship of the community, or communitarianism, as just that. It's rather like the Borg in a lot of ways, because, of course, the communitarians themselves refer to it as that all-encompassing ism. But it really is a variant of socialism, and it combines corporatism, what many people still refer to as fascism. It combines what we call capitalism, as well as British mercantilism, or what we call free trade, along with communism. And so this is where we're headed, is if we're not cognizant that this is where we're headed. And that's why I always say that I don't know anybody named we, or us, or they, or them, or the state, or government, or even the community, even we the people. And I'm wondering how it is that I ever got bamboozled into actually contracting and doing business with such a cretin.
You were duped from the beginning.
I
Just
certainly
like
was.
all of us. You know, we're taught to believe in the system, and then once we learn that, oh wait, the system is illegitimate, it's too late. You're a part of that. So what do you do? I mean, you do what we do here at UnitedWeStrike.com, and we're all on the same page here, trying to alert our friends, our neighbors about what is going on around them. Yeah, you can't get rid of all the fluoride in your body. You can't undo the Social Security system. Well, perhaps we could, but you try. You try. I mean, you know, we make the effort. And it's better we make the effort than not. It's better that smart people like yourself, Lark or Am or Karen, try to teach others so that perhaps they can teach others. Plant those seeds.
Well, yes, and I think it's important that we dialogue. And you know, it's very interesting that people don't realize that communitarianism is really not communism. It's much more than communism. It's really the corporatist system combined with these others. You know, the federal government in Washington, D.C. became a corporatist state in 1871.
Yes, we talked about that. Charles Irwin, our good friend, and I talked about that 2 months ago on my show. The Act of 1871 is a key turning point to the implementation of everything we find, quote unquote, illegal. The Federal Reserve System, the income tax, and the IRS. It was a key moment in American history.
You use the word illegal, and again, that creates the thesis antithesis. I prefer the word inadequate and incompetent. There has to be social structure, the goal being to facilitate the individual, but you have to have some way of moving it. Obviously, the people doing this are not up to the tasks, and because they want power, they want their gratification, they're insecure, you know, my socially legislated opinion is better than your socially legislated opinion.
Well, hold on. I disagree. I disagree inherently that they're not really good at what they do. I think they're very brilliant at what they do, except what they're trying to do is kill and enslave us.
When I say they're not good, I'm looking at the whole bowl of wax. I don't care if they have more cars or whatever, they have an access to energy, to power, and a chance to facilitate for the betterment of all. That's where they're inadequate. Yes, they're conniving, they're cunning, they're smart enough in a certain discipline or area to take advantage of it. But all of this stuff comes, you see, they may have an intellectual development, but that's not what's running them. It's the irrationality and basically insecurity of their feeling body that's running the show. They're afraid of what? Well, ultimately of not existing. It's their identity with the ego. When the feelings control, no matter how many PhDs you have behind your name, then you can justify just about anything because it all comes down to, do I get what I feel I should have or don't I? Now, the question is, what do you feel you should have and where did that come from? But if you look at the patterns, it's the same thing from the Stone Age till now, but it's getting much more intense as we get more technologically advanced.
Dinah, you've been quiet for a while. I know you've got something to say.
No. I'm going to let everyone keep going. Yes, my mind is going a mile a minute.
You sure you
really
don't
want me
have
to step in here?
Well,
Okay, I've got an argument I'd like to put on the table, and you can agree or disagree, but I don't really mind the fact that there are people out there who require a structured society and benefit from a structured society. And frankly, if that's what they want, more power to them. They should have it. But, it's kind of like in Brave New World. There should be some wild territory set aside for those who not only do not wish to participate in such a thing, but would prefer to not be associated with it in any way. That, I think, would be a more reasonable system. Let the communitarians have their communities, but damn it, there should be some place where I can be left alone.
Yes, you need to be able to deconstipate the spirit every once in a while. Agreed. You need structure. But the question is, what are the structures? Structures are ways of facilitating either their containment fields, which is what you're getting right now, or their launching pads for facilitating greater, more expansive movement. But the quality of the structuring, and we always need structuring. If I'm dealing with somebody's health, the body is logical. You violate the basic precepts of the body, you're going to make yourself hurt. If you'd like to enhance performance, you have to understand the structure. Either way, it's a question of what kind of structures and where did they come from and how adequate are they to their intention.
Yeah, and who structures the structurers? Who structures the structure by which the people who want to structure stuff can come through?
I volunteer.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing here.
I see it as structure versus indenture. So there's a certain amount of structure for population groups and countries is all good and well, but what you see is the more highly evolved a country becomes, and we've of course divided all the different countries into first world countries, second world countries, and third world countries. And what you see in first world countries is as their societies become more highly evolved, become more highly specialized, people actually begin to lose touch with reality. And the reason that they do that is because they are so incredibly specialized. So people that live in the suburbs, they have no clue where their milk comes from. That cheese comes from milk, that comes from a cow, that has to be in a field, that has to eat. And,
and speaking of Angelina Jolie...
You know what though, Dinah? I'd like to interject something about that too, because I see a lot of that happening with the people in the truth movement as well, and not for nefarious reasons at all. They're just completely hyper focused on whatever their interest is, and sometimes it takes a break, maybe to step back and listen to other people's shows. Listen to a marathon like this where you have input from many different fields of study, because we can get extremely hyper focused where I'm paying attention to is the nuke stuff, and I took a break for a few weeks from doing my show and just tried to really make it a point of listening to other shows and seeing what else is going on. And it's like, wow, we're all chasing different rabbits.
Christina, you're making a really excellent point there, because, sometimes I'll get my head buried in an issue like Fukushima or the oil spill and go, oh my God, I'm going to die. And then I suddenly take a step back and I splurge out and listen to a whole bunch of different shows. And then I realize, oh my God, the world's not that bad. There's also all these other things that can kill me.
No, it's very much when when I first started doing this too, everyone is so locked into their issues, and I would get reports back, and everyone is just wonderful, but it would be like massive volumes of information from each individual, and finally I just hit overload because, and that's also why, though, I think this part of the marathon is so very important. All of our issues tie into each other, and someone can be very passionate about GMOs, somebody else about vaccinations, somebody else is tackling the chemtrails that are falling from the sky. We got weather manipulation on this side. Now we got hidden RFID chips. And finally, the goal, which is so absolutely wonderful, and again, thank you, because right here and right now is how we're tying it all together so that we see we can't all be experts, but we're part of the puzzle. And we also are all carriers of that same divine essence that runs through us. And when we start to look into quantum physics, when we start to look into intention, when we start to look outside of the box we've been trained to stay in all of our life, when we take off the training wheels, we can perform miracles. And I choose to believe in them, and that we are the instruments through which they flow. Thank you all for being here.
We'll miss you, Karen. We'll miss your voice. I like how you speak. I like the tenor of your voice. I like the spirit of which you do. And you're right.
Glass of Chardonnay.
You know, United
in Canada,
we
they call it Chardonnay.
Charlie who?
Thanks, eh?
You know,
Thanks,
but
Matt.
this is actually, you're welcome. This is actually so neat. I marvel at the things we have put together here at United We Strike. I listen to these shows, and I'll say this from the beginning till now. Is like going to an all-day concert and listening to the best rock bands. And we have such great participants now, and we always have a new influx of great minds and great ideas. We're not all experts, like you say, on everything. But when you put the whole package together, what an awesome package. You know, it's inspiring to be in the presence of such humbling, intelligent people.
You're very kind. Thank you. But all contributions gratefully accepted.
Okay, well, you're not getting too much out of me, Ham. You know, I'm not writing you a check tomorrow.
If you guys were actually talking about who structures the structure, or if that was just something I read in chat, I'm a little distracted at the moment.
I was talking about that, yeah.
But you know, we're kind of all the things that we're doing. We're all being manipulated by the same people at the top, the architects. You know, whether you're following, you know, Monsanto or chemtrails or the radiation, you know, the food supply, you know, it's all the same people that are responsible. And by us all chasing these different rabbits too, we're kind of doing ourselves a disservice because we're spinning our wheels in a way to get to the root of the problem.
I'll argue that one with you, Christina. I am glad that you're out there taking on the radiation issues. I am glad that Lark is defining the terminology that's being used against us. I am glad that there is a diversity in this group because, you know what? We're being assaulted from so many different directions that if somebody doesn't face off against the enemy in that particular direction, they won't be confronted. And by our acquiescence, we then lose. So yes, take up the good fight. Whatever issue is closest to your heart, take it up and fight that good fight. Somebody's got to do it. Why not you?
But it's got to be a red button issue, and it has to be something that you're very passionate about. And I think by putting all of us together, and we all have our own issues that we focus on, it makes the parts of the many much stronger as a whole.
Well, can I say something? We talked about this on the show the other day about how many times you need to hear something before it clicks in your head. You know, fluoride is poisonous for you. Fluoride is poisonous for you. You know, if I say it 7 times, it doesn't have the same effect. You hear 7 different people say it to you. Here's the thing. If you're going to wake people up, often you can't wake them up right there, right then. Okay, you can't convince somebody because they've got all this cognitive dissonance working on. All you got to do is say one thing and just play your part. Be one of those 7 people that this person might encounter in their life that will help them to wake up. And you don't have to put all the responsibility on your shoulders. And a lot of people do, and it drives them crazy when they can't wake their family up or something like that.
Well, here's the thought. We talk about the people on the top running down. I would say what they're running on the public is the same thing that's being run on them. It's just a trickle-down policy, and they're in the position to have more access or take more advantage. What's running everybody right now is ignorance-generated fear, doubt, confusion, and anxiety. And if you have that, whether you have a lot of cars and servants or whether you're struggling just to put food on the table, you will, in deference to that fear, which is irrational, but it's an archetypal threat that people haven't learned to, and it can be easily overcome, then you're going to do whatever you have to avoid that. When we ask people to become open, we're asking them, whether or not we realize it, to encounter whatever keeps them from being open, whatever makes them willing to be followers, subservient, trash their lives. And until that's understood, whether we're talking about people on the top or the bottom, this same nonsense is going to continue. Of course, we want to call out the nonsense and the crap. It has to be dealt with. But that, just calling it out, that's again, thesis, antithesis. We need a synthesis based on actual integrative understanding, and that's where people will change. People are afraid, but if they get around someone who's actually resolved that, and they sense it, they won't understand it at first, they'll start to calm down. If you can give them the tools and means to release from their own fear, then they're not so susceptible to manipulation. But they do have a lot of drag lines connected from years of subconscious conditioning. All of this is pretty easy to change if you know what you're doing, but unless it's changed, no matter what you think or talk about it, you're still going to keep coming back to the same patterns because that's what's running people.
Right,
well, I find one of the best tools of dealing with this and releasing your fear is humor. You got to have a few laughs, man. Otherwise, what the hell's the point of living?
Quick show of hands. How many are willing to carry on the this group session for one more 30-minute session? Can we count on our current panel to stick with us for another 30 minutes?
Well, basically, yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah.
This is to be honest with you,
Yep.
this is some damn fine, compelling content, and I want the recording of it. So if you folks don't mind, if you're willing, let's press on, and we'll carry this on until top of the hour, 10 o'clock my time. Please continue.
It's only rock and roll, but I like it.
I want to jump in and say, yes, Dinah, but I want to say that along with everyone beginning to share and everything, just doing something is so crucial to people beginning to take their power back. And that is so important about why the 15th is there. So once a month, when people really understand about being empowered and the energy behind it, and know that every 15th, there are people all over the world who pull out their money. Some of them stay home from work. Some of them completely are off the grid. More than that, I talk to many people who tell me that it started with the 15th, but now they're pulling back more and more every month. And so I think, again, not only is it important to start to break out of the shell that has been built around us, the propaganda balloon, but to take collective action. And again, if we can put all of us really focus on the 4 days coming up in July. I mean, we never really have had a huge strike either in America that was more than just one place. We haven't had people all over the world who understood that profit is now over king or over people. And if we can knock profit out for 4 days over this weekend, if we can take it back. And I like Max Egan too, who says we should give our misrepresentatives 30 days to be able to either turn around, respect the organic constitution, throw out everything after the act of 1871, and then get to where we have administrators so that we can keep things going, but start to understand we are equal people. None of us needs to be slaves. None of us needs to sit and have an obsessive wealth while other people are starving. We have to stop discarding poor people who are made poor simply because we accept the belief systems that have been passed down to us. We can break through. We have a chance. That Occupy spirit that brought people out to camp in the streets, well, what would happen if that spirit made them stay home in order to say, this is mine. This is mine. And I'm going to work out with my family how we can best survive the future, and with my neighbors. I'll plant tomatoes. You help me build my garden. You help me build my shed. You can come over and help out the plumbing. I can sew your clothes. We do need to really, really come together. And this gives us a venue. And I'll tell you, every 15, at least I feel better about knowing that I am not alone, and that people I don't even know are putting their energy into it, and I see freedom for all of us.
Well, I'd like to interject here for a minute. I had something amazing happen to me this week. My mother sees what I do as a success. She thinks it's neat that I have a radio show, and that she sees it as a celebrity thing. She doesn't see it as trying to expose what's going on. And she called me on Thursday to tell me that this phone call might be recorded. And everything that I've been telling her, and all the articles that I'd written that I've been directing to her attention, she said, "You're not a crazy conspiracy theorist. They're talking about it in the mainstream. It's real."
How does that make
and
you
my
feel?
Mother,
Do you feel violated?
Here's the irony. Here's the irony. They come up to you and go, "Oh my God, you're right. Something in the mainstream is real."
I did, and I said to her, "Don't you realize that they are lying to you?" And she said, "Yes, of course." But you have to understand, my mother, and I love her very dearly, but she's very set in her ways, and she's very dense, and she totally misunderstands what I'm doing with my website and my journalism and my radio show. And for her to call me out of the blue to tell me that everything that I've been talking about for the last year is true, and they are monitoring our phone calls, they are watching us, and that I'm not crazy. That said to me, it gave me hope, is what it gave me, because I realized if my mother can entertain that thought and wake up even in the slightest bit, then anybody can. And what we're doing is really not, we probably don't see the effects of what we do, but I guarantee you it's working.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time you want to be shutting your mouth because it's not politic to say what the truth is or something like that, you're afraid people will ostracize to you, even when it's not popular, that's the time to speak the truth, because if you don't, nobody will ever wake up to it. And if you take personal responsibility for waking people up, again, play your part. Be one of the 7 people that somebody will listen to and tell them the exact same thing before it get it.
Right. And it might take them a minute. You know, I've been sharing with my mother articles every single day. I post something on her Facebook page or I email it to her. My mother has worked in the medical field all her life, so whenever I write anything about health issues, I always send that to her. But it was amazing to get this phone call. When I hung up the phone, I told my husband, if my mother can wake up, anyone can. Oh my gosh, we're actually having an impact. And I spoke to a friend of mine who works in foreclosures, and she told me that the whole exposure of Verizon Wireless and the NSA and the PRISM program woke people up en masse. In fact, the law firm that she's working with, they're putting together a class action lawsuit against Verizon for complying with the NSA and that secret order that was given to them.
You know how they say the sins of the parent are visited upon the child? I also like to remind people that the redemption of the child is visited upon the parent, feeds back down the pipeline. If you assimilate all the confusion you inherited from the people that came before you and you can straighten out in yourself, you break the grip of that, and because they're related to you, they start to feel it.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, it's like coming from a home where there's an alcoholic in the house, and you choose not to become an alcoholic. You break that cycle. Absolutely.
Well, and you see that today with parents who are choosing to opt their children out of mainstream schools and are choosing to homeschool their children. So what happened when the Department of Homeland Affairs put out an article in 2010 identifying those likely to be the greatest domestic terrorist threat, and who's on that list? People that homeschool their children, people that store more than 4 days' worth of food. And you have parents who homeschool their children turn around and go, what? So they may have chosen to homeschool their children for issues unrelated to their disdain of government. There may have been an issue at the school that couldn't be resolved, and it was safer to keep their child home and homeschool them. I know a lot of parents in the autistic community that have chosen to homeschool very bright children because the children struggle with the social issues at school. So, but they're not questioning a bigger paradigm in any way. But when they see something like that, it really stopped them and made them ask questions that before that they were unlikely to have asked. And along the way, they've encountered an enormous learning curve. I work extensively in the autism community, and so many of them have said to me, you know, Dinah, you were right about this and that, and I tell them, you need to grow food. You need to not vaccinate your children. They don't need these mind-altering drugs. They need amino acids and other supplements for the body. And as they see these changes in their children and as they're homeschooling, it opens people up to questioning other things. It takes something, some little epiphany. And if they hear enough from the people around them, they do start to question, and they are able, a lot of people are able to open their minds and start seeing truisms.
You know what's interesting?
That's what's happening with so many people, is when they get a confirmation of something that was a rogue thought, like, oh my God, the government is, listening in on our phone calls, and they really want to say this is not possible. But when it's suddenly splashed across the mainstream media, and it's a real issue that's being talked about not only in mainstream but by politicians, that's the germ of thought that is going to be the germ of thought for many people into opening their minds up more.
Exactly. I saw that evidence this week with my mother. I feel so.
Yeah, Vinny, go ahead.
I wanted to say that what's occurred to me now since leaving high school and brainwashing programs and things like that I'm actually one of the cool people in the world. And so are all the people in this room. Like, we're actually the cool ones. We're the ones who should be frickin' popular. We're the ones that should be talking to heaps of people and be invited around all the place. And sure enough, we are, innit? And that's basically what I think the world needs is better, cooler people. Better examples of cooler people. You know what I'm saying? What are the other examples of cooler people? Some tramp gets her breast cut off in order to avoid breast cancer. I was thinking about getting my ears amputated for fear that Justin Bieber might release another album.
That's brilliant, Vincent. Vinny, that is brilliant.
I might get leg cancer. I'm going to cut them off too.
Then you could be in a Monty Python skit.
I heard that Angelina Jolie was discovered to have a genetic precursor to brain cancer.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, what do we do?
That would be an improvement.
All she would need is a couple of flu vaccines with the mercury in there, have a chemical lobotomy, and she would have no brain.
Wait, so she thought they said breast cancer? Is that what you're saying, Gary?
When it comes to detecting breast cancer, I like to do it the old-fashioned way,
Hey, well, I'm not even going to
the
I
hands-on
wish I
approach.
could record that and make that my alarm when I get up in the morning, what you just said. You're one of the cool people.
I'd have to give Vinny a hand in his diagnosis.
You know what, though, Vinny? I think we are the cool people now because mainstream is doing stories that we do. If you notice that, right? They're not cool anymore. And they're like, hey.
Yeah, like a week or two after we do them.
Exactly.
They're boring to redundancy is what they are. But, it goes back to that line in a song from Camelot. What do the simple folk do to help pass the time when they're blue? They sit around and wonder what royal people do. And that's what simple folk do. But we need to get people to stop being so simple because they're missing out. And here's the thing. It's not just what's wrong. It's what's available to you that would make your life so much richer. Make every aspect. The bottom line for me is state of mind. You can have champagne, caviar, beautiful lover. You're in the wrong state of mind, you can't enjoy it. You can have bread, water, and a crucifixion. But if you're in the right state of mind, it's a spiritual bingo. Learning to play, that's what we want to offer.
That didn't rhyme.
Well, okay, I wasn't trying to. What rhymes? Check out my book. But,
It was haiku.
See, earlier he was giving me a hand for my diagnoses, and normally people give me a hand with my neuroses.
I'd be happy to help out, Vinny. My bottom of my card, it says enlightenment guaranteed or your desperation back.
That's clever.
A Buddhist once approached a hot dog vendor and he said, "Make me one with everything."
Yeah, but what did he know?
He knew a lot about sausage.
Well, okay, can I just share quickly one of my first poems? I belong to no one, for I am everyone. Me belongs to I, but plays with you. I am you, am I. So I play with myself. In playing, I am we, complicated to infinity. Infinity is chasing nothing. Are all such bastardized complexities so inadequate?
Wow.
I've got one for you.
I like that.
Thank you.
Are you ready?
Go for it.
A dullard, that's a dull fellow, sat atop a flagpole, wondering whether or not the weather might change. And would it not be too strange for a flop to flip, or for y'all to sit, wondering whether a lark will rearrange his brain? I wrote that in elementary school.
And which way did you go down the yellow brick road?
I bought every lie that ever came down the pike.
Did you?
Yeah, because I wanted it all. I
What
wanted
was
it
your
all.
awakening point? What was your awakening point, Lark?
I think it started back in grade school when I couldn't figure out why everybody was putting poison on their lawns and why the hell they even had a lawn. I just didn't get it, and I didn't understand why they had all these wild treatments for the water coming through the tap. And at 14 years old, my mother, she said, "Oh, you've got to be a lawyer. You've got to be an attorney." I said, "Mom, these people are thieves. They're liars. They're running a criminal protection racket. They're criminals." Now, my stepfather, he wanted me to go into the medical field, to be a doctor or a dentist. Of course, both of my parents were both socialists. They didn't know it. But they simply wanted me to have a good go at life and be comfortable and so forth. And I said, "Dad, these people are poisoners and murderers. Haven't you heard? How could I possibly want to be one of these pillars of the community?" And of course, it took me many years to really start to put things together, and I'm still not, I'm not sure that I have everything together still. I do know that I'm surrounded by criminals, although I do engage and try to keep my distance from those who would ensnare me in their net. I don't know if you realize that doctors and lawyers are criminals.
Well, I think anybody that conducts themselves in a criminal fashion happens to wind up in a position of power at some point in their life. Whether or not they ever get knocked out of that position of power because their scumbaggery gets exposed, I don't know. But it turns out that corrupt people desire power and control and incidentally cluster in power and control centers like business, media, and politics. What would you say is the three main pillars that control the structure and fabric of society? Wouldn't it be those things where the power centers are, where ordinary people that are decent, kind, caring, giving, loving, generous don't like to go because they don't want to have control over other people's lives and who they are and what they do.
Well, the communitarians call them the marks.
The marks.
Unfortunately.
Many of them have psychopathic personalities as well.
Yeah, and in Germany they're called Deutschmarks.
You know, there's a difference between being a medical technocrat and a true healer. A lot of these kids are bright enough to be hothoused through the system. The system is run by the insurance companies and the pharmaceutical industry. They don't think they're being crooks. They've been told this is the best we have to offer you, but they're usually short-sighted in terms of knowing how to deal with the wholeness of the system. But that's because the people running the system, all they care about is securing the fact that we're on top of the game. We've got the control and power. Not because they know what to do with it, but because it's a compensation for their own sense of inadequacy.
Yeah, and they wind up hating everybody else and wanting to control and exterminate us.
Yeah, well, hate is...
They're trapped by their own conditioning. They were actually bred to be criminals and become a part of the criminal protection rackets that they're parts of.
Working class
like
hero.
Like the child of the mafia Don incidentally goes on to become the next Don.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, you can also
that's
say
what
that
medical
Borg is
school's
like
done.
the mafiosi. I'm sorry.
It's what medical school and the judiciary has done too. In New Zealand, there are about 187 High Court justices. About 85 of them are related by first cousin.
Wow.
And in our Supreme Court, there are 8 judges in a building that costs $8 million. And 2 of the Supreme Court justices are a husband and wife. You try getting an investigation for corruption into any branch of the judiciary in this country, good luck, son.
Vinny, did you hear about the lady, the billionaire worth about $21 billion? I believe her name is Gina Reinhardt. She recently called for mass sterilization of children.
Yep, there's been big scientists and wonderful people all throughout the years, Nobel Peace Prize winners, who have been given standing ovations to saying we need to kill people, lots of people, reduce the population so drastically that the earth will now benefit from people's orderly extermination in the killing fields of Cambodia or China or Russia or whatever. It's the same rhetoric. Somebody loves blood sacrifice out there, and I think that they love it so much that they make sure that none of their blood ever gets spilled, and it's all the poor people and all the young boys with no job opportunities who get put into the military because there really ain't any other options here. In New Zealand, the Māori population, who are the pretty downtrodden and stuff like that ever since the colonialists came in, they comprise about 50% of the military. You know, and they're only about maybe 14% of the population. Explain that one to me. And I'm sure it's the same with young black men in America too. Minority groups simply get used as a sacrificial lamb mechanism so that you can go out and take other people's stuff in order to, you know, advance your power and control. It's all about. All it's ever been about. I don't give a frack about any of us at all.
And that shows a lack of psychological development. And again,
I would think it shows more a definite plan for balkanization, to pit ourselves against ourselves so that we don't focus on the bigger picture, the guys above the strings that hold the puppets. You know, Barack Obama is a teleprompter reading puppet. He is not in control of the Democratic Party no more than the Republican Party. And as we hear, and I love hearing you guys, try to expose on UnitedWeStrike.com this illusion that is the New World Order. And what's key is the depopulation aspect of that. They're exterminating 80 to 90% of the world's population. That is the plan. So we need to continue what we're doing. And I enjoy listening to all of you. You know, Vinny, tell us more about. You always say your term, the lighter side of genocide. Well, we know we are at this tipping point. Talk to us about the lighter side of genocide.
Well, if there isn't a lighter side of genocide, you sure as frack better start inventing one, because if you try to take everything that's serious that's going on with the same seriousness with which the mood that it's going on, you'll drive yourself completely insane. Completely insane. So you've got to laugh about things. It relieves tension, especially when you're about to be exterminated.
You know, Vinny, if I didn't believe very firmly that we are spirit having a human experience, I couldn't deal with it either, because it's so overwhelming, and it's easy to understand how people just say, no, I don't want to know. I talk to people, there are people who I love locally who just don't want to look at this. And one of my friends told me, if I had to believe that the government really did 9/11 and was out to get us, I couldn't do it. I'd have to curl up in a ball and just stay in my room. And my question to him was, why? You know, I understand it's difficult and it's hard, but at the same time, it means you can really begin to live your life. No longer do you have to obey laws and legislation that have nothing to do with you, and understand you can have importance. You are important. They're trying to make it like we're not. We throw people away all the time. There's not enough money for this or for that, but we can spend $10 million on Margaret Thatcher's funeral. We can give Obama a $600,000 a year raise, or however many dollars he's getting. We can pick up all these tabs, and we can keep telling other people, yeah, you handle my problems. When instead, all they do is have meetings. Okay, let's have a dinner for poverty. $10,000 a plate. We'll sit around, we'll have great entertainment. And instead, what I see is, if they really cared, if the people who we honor and supposedly serve, those who are supposed to serve us, if they really cared, instead of having that dinner, they'd say, okay, we'll meet you over here at 10 o'clock in the morning. I'll bring the paint, you bring the nails, you pick up trash. You know, let's get hands on the ground, instead of thinking that somehow having your picture taken and looking like you're a big shot is going to make any difference to the people who are starving because of what you do. And Child Protective Services, I mean, when you really step back and look at how fracked up we are, we need hands and feet on the ground locally, caring and taking care of us, because none of us deserves to be discarded. None of us should live on a curb or a corner. None of us needs to be kicked into the streets, especially the veterans who have sacrificed everything for the lie that is only protecting the bankers' interests.
Well, you know,
Wow.
if the money that they're spending were appropriated properly, we probably wouldn't have many of these issues, you know, and the fact that they're spending our money and they're supposed to be spending it in our best interest because we put them there and they work for us, and that's not happening. I mean, that is a huge problem. I don't want to be buying weapons to go bomb people in a third world nation. That isn't what I want my hard-earned dollars to be spent doing. So why are we allowing them to spend on these ridiculous things that really shouldn't be happening at all?
I thought that that's what the House Appropriations Committee was about making sure that money is spent inappropriately.
That's about it. That really bothers me, and they're saying that we're broke, except we wouldn't be broke if they didn't spend it wrong. You know,
We're
and
not
give it all
broke.
away,
We're
bail
not
out the
broke.
bankers.
We're just... Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
I was going to say, we're not broke. We're only broke in terms of spending anything on the people at home. We're only broke when it comes to our own basic education. We're not broke in terms of funding university research. Do you know that public universities and student bodies do the bulk of research and development for pharmaceutical companies? When they sell you a patented drug and their markup is 800 to 8,000%, and they claim it's because they have to reimburse themselves the cost of their research and development, it's all a bunch of hocus pocus. The vast majority of research and development is done by the student body at public universities, and those public universities then turn around and give the research and development data to pharmaceutical companies across the board. They sit on it, and then they synthesize it, and then they sell it to the public at this enormously inflated cost. We are not broke. All you have to do is look at the slush funds. We had Hillary Clinton turn around and give $45 million to Al-Qaeda, and she made sure to say this was not for arming Al-Qaeda, a division of Al-Qaeda. This was simply for their personal needs. So travel, hotel, and food. Are you kidding me? This whole thing about the fact that we're broke is absolutely absurd.
But all that stuff that they're spending money on now, they're spending it with printed credit dollar QE3 to infinity money.
Well, there was a point. I think there was a point Karen made before about how we're all enslaved and poor and stuff like that. Well, the only way that we've actually become so enslaved and so poor is because we've got so much freaking debt. And the only thing that we'd really need to do in order to get that imaginary debt that doesn't really exist to disappear is just pretend that it doesn't exist. Jubilee, man! Forgive all the debt. They made it up. Why don't we just make believe that it doesn't frickin' exist? I'm not paying it back. No, I won't be a poor slave anymore. You know what you call somebody who serves you that doesn't have any teeth? An indentured servant.
Yes, Vinny,
but that's exactly true. But we need to exterminate or remove from the whole picture.
Oh, you said the E word.
The Federal Reserve, the central banks of the world, we have to get away from that. If we get away from that, then the control mechanisms of the planet fall.
Well, there's so many facets to it. Like the appeal to authority is something that's really got people in a bounce. They pound it into you from birth. Obey your mum, obey your dad. Then you go to kindergarten, you must obey your teacher. Then to elementary, obey your teacher, obey the school nurse. Getting onto high school, obey your teachers, obey the deputy principal and the principal. Then you go to a job where you have to obey your boss. And then you get started thinking about yourself, oh my God, if I ever have any higher education or any other experience, I'm going to have to obey somebody for the rest of my entire freaking life. What the hell kind of life is that? You get up, you go to work, you get stuck in traffic, you hate your boss, you hate your fellow employees, you hate yourself, and eventually you wind up starting to hate your kids because you had to sacrifice so much of your own life and potential in order to raise them in a way that you think is right, which you know is wrong because you hated it too.
Wow, Vinny. And that was
but
so
they're
true.
worth saving, Dave. They're worth saving, Vinny, because that's why we're here. United We Strike. Don't forget that, okay?
Obey, disobey. They need something better. You have to understand that if this is what they're used to and it's not rational, if they suddenly let go of it, everything that they accepted it for threatens them. We need to give them a better way of operating. I've never been obedient in my life, but if you can make more sense than me, I'll be happy to sit down and learn from you. But that's not where most people are coming from. And this is deep-seated. When you ask them to move against what they know, besides the fact that there are all these drag lines that are fear-based, they don't know where else to go with it. Not doing what's screwed up is not the same as doing what will really facilitate the quality of their life.
That's why I'd like to tell them where to go, Ann.
So would I, Karen. We could write a song together. Hey, I'll put on an Elvis jumpsuit and sing if it helps. But I can tell them.
How about
way to go? I'm waiting for that video now.
No more.
Only
no
go
more. Hit the road.
Loud.
You're looking for trouble?
Well, I'd like to say something to Vinny.
Hit the road, Barack, and don't you come back no more.
I'd like to say something to Vinny. I love my life. I am in love with my life. I am not a team player, and I don't play on a team. I am in charge of my own life. I don't earn a registered income. I don't take dollars for what I do. My life consists of getting up in the morning and teaching my children. I have children still at home. I have adult children out in the world. I have grandchildren. But I have young children still at home, and I homeschool them. And every day is an adventure. We have a microscope. We have a greenhouse. We have ducks. We have goats. We have horses. We have dogs. We have cats. We every day is an exploration. I have people that come by that barter and trade for what we don't grow. I have people that come by and trade and barter. They fix my car. I give them healing herbs and things like that. And every day I get up and I breathe deep and I love my life. And it is possible to love your life and love your children and really feel as though you're making an impact every single day. It is possible.
Beautiful, and more power to
I
you.
like that, Dinah. I like
Beautiful,
that.
Dinah.
I like that too, and you'd be the one, Dinah. And the world's
Vinny,
very dualistic. So if there's one spectrum that exists, if there's all that bad stuff that's going on, then surely all other good stuff can exist. You just got to find it and make it frickin' work, and don't take no for an answer.
And here's where women's lib failed women, and I've been waiting to say this because I am a woman, and therefore I can say something about women's lib. It is a lie and it is a fallacy, and why would any woman buy into the entirety of the women's lib movement? Because the women's lib movement is based on the premise that women want to be equal to men, and so help me, in my entire life, I have never considered myself an equal to a man. I have never considered myself, well, actually, I have considered myself superior to a few. But when you get into the nitty-gritty of it, we cannot be equal because we are different. We have different skills, different abilities, different thought processes. Not one is better than the other, but we are not the same. We are different. And women need to understand that they cannot have it all the time, and at the same time. I have several degrees. I've been to school. I've been to night school. I've owned businesses. I've had children, and I've had 3 husbands. And I can tell you, you cannot have it all the time, and certainly not at the same time. Life is about compromise and sacrifice and biding your time and reaching out with both hands to take what you need at that moment in time. And if you believe that you can have it all the time, you are living a lie from within.
Well, it's not a question of having it at all. It's a question of how much you can enjoy what you have. But the answer is not the man or the woman. It's the intelligent individual, and then you focus through whatever the particulars of your bio or gender equipment happens to be. But that requires an individual, and most people have not reached that place of integrative individuality. By the way, if any of you'd like to know how the battle of the sexes originally got started in our species, please go to my website, go to the podcast library, go to the 3rd section, The Art of Intimacy. The first 3 is a pretty, if nothing else, my audacity will make you chuckle, but it will explain how this, the psychological, how this all got started, this pairing off between the sexes.
I'll tell you,
See,
this,
I
this
always
is some,
thought I always
please,
thought that the battle of the sexes started with a cockfight in Mexico.
Vinny, we're going to have to upgrade the quality of what you're smoking.
Yeah, this is very engaging content, but we are coming up to the top of the hour. We probably let you go. I let you go a little bit longer than I really should have. But
Thank you, Gary.
we really should start thinking about closing down our roundtable for the evening. I do have a pre-recorded segment from Humanity Transcending that I need to play out before we shut down the broadcast for the day. But before we close down the roundtable, Matt, would you please lead us around the table and give everybody at least a moment to do that blatant self-promotion thing and let folks know where they can find out more about what they've got to say?
Sure, Gary. Thanks, everyone, for being a part of this. The more I listen to all these voices, I know more assuredly that we need to continue this. So we'll work, even because Karen's taking a step back, we'll work extra hard to make sure that these marathons continue. The more I hear the voices, the more I know this is the right thing to do. So as we leave this marathon, I'd like to thank the production crew, I'd like to thank Karen, and I'd like to thank all the hosts and the guests. Oh, Larry Pinckney, I really enjoy your enthusiasm. We'll have to get you on my show. But let's see who's up. Dinah, I like your knowledge. I really like that accent. It's very crushing to a guy like me. Why don't you give us your closing thoughts?
I think the roundtables are fantastic. I think the United We Strike is awesome. And again, Karen, thank you so much. I know this is your baby. I know this comes from your heart. And I'm sorry that you're going to be taking somewhat of a back seat. But I think we've all agreed that we stand united to continue this thought and these actions.
Thanks.
What I'd like is everybody to state their name and then their websites just quickly, and I'm going to make sure to jot these all down so that when we put the archives up, anybody that is listening can go to see each and every one of your particular strain of work. So, Suzanne Posel, would you be able to kick us off with that?
My website is occupycorporatism.com. It's a news website, so there's articles up there every single day. I also have a radio show on American Freedom Radio, the Region 10 Report, on Thursdays, 1 to 3 Pacific Time or 3 to 5 Central Time. And I'm also partnered with Vinny on the Real Guerrilla Media, .com, where we have a whole host of wonderful people who are actually affecting change and doing a good job at it. And thank you, Karen, for inviting me to be part of the United We Strike, and I'm very grateful to be part of everything that you guys are doing, because I'm enamored and awed to be in this on this roundtable and just listening to everyone. It's amazing.
Thank you, Suzanne, for being part of it.
Yeah, so, Am, really,
Yes.
we have some sharp people on this panel that really blow my mind, just saying. Am, give us some closing thoughts.
All right. Well, first of all, my website is Lifegame, Lifegame, like the game of life, lifegame.com. Please explore it. There's a lot of stuff on there, much more to come. And Karen, how about the next show? I'd like to collaborate. United We Gestalt. But thank you all. It's been a real pleasure participating.
It's almost as bad as United We Beklempt. Yeah.
Or United We Gestapo.
No, we don't.
No, I don't think so.
I believe that we can unite. If we unite, we can Gestapo them.
Hey, Vinny, you're always such a pleasure to have on. You know, I appreciate your humor. Give us some closing thoughts, your websites, and all you do.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Vinny Eastwood. Vinny with a Y. Eastwood isn't go ahead, make my news. And you can check it out, the VinnyEastwoodShow.com. That's Vinny with a Y, because it's the most important question, of course. Now, if you want good media, don't come to my website. No, it's cheap, it's nasty. If you want to have fun, on the other hand, while being told that you're about to get exterminated by ruthless criminal sociopathic scumbags, then listen to the Vinny Eastwood Show every single day, because we have a massive diversity of guests from all different areas of research for all manner of government programs that are now currently surveilling you and trying to kill you. It's just fabulous to hear from all of these different people from all over the world, to realize that there is no fracking escape from a new world order, because it encompasses every single country, doesn't it? And if you want to survive this psychologically, let alone physically, you've got to have a few laughs. That's why it's the lighter side of genocide. Because in a world so full of chaos and madness, if you lose a sense of humor, you go frickin' nuts.
That
Well
would make
said,
a great
Vinny.
promo.
So did we miss anyone else before we go to Karen Tostada? Because we want to hear from you. I want
to hear from Lark, and I want to hear from Christina.
Oh, awesome. Okay, let's go.
Please, Christina, go ahead.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Karen, for inviting me to this marathon. And I really love the discussion and the roundtable. And my brain is all over the place thinking of how I can put something together like this in terms of maybe a YouTube. And I'm going to be talking to some people tomorrow that I think would be perfect for it. Because out of these discussions and even the disagreement, there's so much that comes out of it. And you're in charge of your experience, So make it a good one. My website is fukushimafacts.com.
Christina, thank you. And I want everyone to feel free to make YouTubes of all of this audio. It'd be great to get it out there. And I'll be quiet now because it's not my turn.
Well, I'm Lark in Texas. I'm not a person given to labels, just Lark. I fancy myself as merely somebody who is doing a lot of difficult, hard work, and only because I have the time. I don't go out very much any longer. I lost every member of my nuclear family to murderers in the medical profession. And I dedicate my work to those folks who have always known that there was something wrong about this world. And they never really had the chance or the time to devote to try to put it together. And a quote from Walter Bagehot: "All the best stories in the world are but one story in reality, the story of escape. It is the only thing which interests us all and at all times. How to escape." But for me, my escape is visiting with you folks here. And I want to thank you personally, Karen Quintostada, for inviting me here, because this is my escape. This is my new family. People just such as yourselves and the people listening right now.
I'm so glad to hear that, Lark. Thank you very much, because that is the intention. We are family. And our new family member now who we haven't heard from yet, Jules, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you too, Karen. This was a great experience today, and I met lots of new people. I'm very excited about any future work that we can all do together. And I think that this will just be a wonderful thing. I think that we're winning too. Like I was saying earlier, I really am seeing a big turnaround for the first time in the last 2 years. Suzanne was saying about her mom. I mean, as mainstream starts getting cool like we are, they're actually backfiring the whole system on themselves, because I think it's waking up masses of people. So, you know, some of our hard work is actually starting to pay off. And I think that as we all pull together and, you know, everybody focuses on their particulars that they feel very passionate about and the red button issues, you know, we will have lots of pieces to the puzzle that when our family and friends and loved ones finally do wake up, we'll be there waiting to give them the information that they're looking for. And Karen, pulling all these people together is just a wonderful thing. And I know that even though you're stepping back, it's going to sprout wings and fly.
Yay. Thank you.
Like a predator drone.
Like a predator drone, yes, but a good one.
Yeah.
That's
Hey, well,
right.
if there's one positive thing you can say about Fukushima, it's the return of the long diminished nuclear family.
Baby.
Oh.
No, I think that too. We forgot to actually let Dynamite, who really just blows everything wide open, her extensive knowledge. You know, Dinah, please come on, because you still have a few words to say and introduce your websites.
Thank you, Karen. Yes, my website is DinahEverettSnyder.wordpress.com, and my website is DinahEverettSnyder.org.
That is the least amount of words I have ever heard you speak.
You know,
I'm holding a duck right now. I'm holding a duck with an injured wing that I had to bind yesterday, and she's come into the house to look for me, and she's sitting on my lap. I'm sorry, I'm a little preoccupied.
See, now people understand why the doctors call her a quack.
Oh,
we should let Matt do his blatant self promotion. I don't think we've heard his website in this segment.
well, actually, my website sucks. I'm trying to get.
I've been there. It does.
Yeah, I'm trying to get some help with it. It is nwoder.com. Vicky Barker, who bless her soul, couldn't make it with us today. offered to help. But no, I appreciate all of you, and we laugh and we joke. But this is very serious business that we work on here, and this is very serious business that we focus on. The extermination of the human race is very important, and I feel so humble to be a part of this with all of you. Sometimes it leaves me without words, and this is one of those moments. So all I can say is we will continue to work to bring you these marathons because they're so inspiring, and I will, if anything, I will do my part to make sure it happens. And I thank all of you for being here.
And on that note,
newworldodor.com. It's a New World Odor because our website stinks.
Okay, so let's do this all. Okay, you all know how this works.
Wait a minute. We need to hear from
okay.
Gary, and then I would like to have just one other thing to say before I bow out.
Okay.
Or bow out. It
All
depends on how it
right,
comes
all
out.
right. My name is Gary Hendershot, and I am very well known on the internet as Smart Scarecrow, and you can find links to just about everything I have ever done at smartscarecrow.com. And frankly, that is my blatant self-promotion. And on that note, Karen, last word, take it away, because I really need to shut this one down.
I know, and thank you for being flexible. We do have the power to be flexible since it's our program without any commercials from sponsors, because we're here on our own time, on our own dime, because it's important to us that everyone listening understand they're important. We are all important. None of us needs to be subservient. And even though I am stepping back, I'm going to be around. I'm definitely going to be talking about the 4-day strike and boycott coming up in July. If we can all get on that, think about how much money we can keep out of the system. Think about things you can do with your family. Making a homemade flag of the country that you are in and flying it. How cool would that be? Using your materials, having your children cut out stars or whatever from your country. Let's do something to celebrate freedom. And I will continue to have Karen's Corner every Friday night. It's on Rents Radio from 6 p.m. Pacific time. And I'm being very drawn into looking into the quantum energy field. Dr. Quantum, Lynn Sarita, is a new good buddy of mine. I talked to him a few times. Water is important, people. We are between 60 to 90% water. Our bodies, during our lifetimes, think about the fact that water holds memory. If you begin to bless the water within, to thank your body for containing the water, if you look at the great research of Dr. Emoto, if you watch some of the videos on United We Strike, you will see there is more to this than just fantasy. And I am working now with crystals. I'm being drawn to that. I'm being drawn to making jewelry with chakra colors. I am anticipating fun and lightening up and actually singing again. And so I'd like to just leave you now with my highest gratitude and this. I sing a song of freedom. I sing a song of peace. We create what we see. It is time to be free. Pardon me for that little screw up there. It must be the Chardonnay.
Thanks, Karen. Karen. We appreciate all you've done. We appreciate the resonance of your voice. Thank you. We will continue this, and we don't look for you to drop off the face of the earth. I can't imagine that happening. I'd like to thank everyone here at this roundtable. I'd like to thank all of our audience members. I'd like to thank Rick Margetts, who brought us great coverage from Bilderberg. I'd like to thank our production crew, Detlef, Alan, Gary. You guys do such a great job. I look forward to bringing more parties to the table so we can grow this movement that, Karen, we appreciate your inspiration for, of United We Strike into the future. If we don't do what we do, people, if we don't do or express our voices, because we all have beautiful voices, and I enjoy hearing what I do here on United We Strike. If we don't do what we do, then perhaps humanity's existence is in jeopardy. So I say to you, I'd like to continue this. I look forward to it all. And as we close out tonight, I'd like to do this with all of you. It's something we have as a tradition at UnitedWeStrike.com. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Death
to the new
World order.
Okay.
And on that
Matt,
note,
we had thumbs. We were saying death to the new world order. We should try it once more because some of these folks didn't know what we were doing.
Okay. So let's try that again. Okay.
Just before we do, if Mum can wake up, anyone can. We're having an effect on the evil master plan. Anything goes.
Okay. Give us a countdown, Vinny. Come on, Vinny. Give us a countdown. Let's try it again.
And a 1, and a 2, and a 3.
Death!
Death to the new world order.
Order.
Thanks, guys.
Well, no. It's just you got to all do it in time. Death to the new world order on 3. 1, 2, 3. Death to the new
Death
world
to the new world order.
Oh, this is terrible. Too many people. Too much.
yeah, Skype gets overwhelmed, I think, with that.
Hi-yo, Vinny, away.
I feel overwhelmed.
All right, guys, on that note, it's that time. Actually, it's past that time, but it was a hell of a round table. Really do appreciate it. Thank you all for participating in the United We Strike Marathon.